Hi guys, today I want to talk to you about binge eating and the torture we put ourselves through after a binge and even during a binge. And just to let you know, we all do it, from time to time. Some do it more than others. And the biggest, the most worst thing we can do is feel shame. Because shame is one of the biggest drivers of binge eating, and it's also one of the emotions that keeps us trapped in that binge eating cycle. And today I want to help you understand what's really going on when you binge eat and detach from shame of binge eating to stop you from going round and round in that cycle. So you can finally get back in control of your choices without restriction or guilt. So let's break down what's really happening when we binge eat, because it comes from lack of eating enough nutrients and eating enough food. When you restrict your intake physically or mentally, then your body starts to feel deprived. And biologically, that increases your cravings and it fuels your reward system so that it makes you want that reward through having those cravings. And your reward system goes into overdrive. And dopamine also spikes at the thought of eating. And once you start eating, literally it opens the floodgates. These are the floodgates to eating way more than you were supposed to. Then comes the shame, the guilt, and the classic "I'll start again tomorrow" cycle, which is just the worst thing we can do. Studies from Yale and Cambridge show that binge eating activates the same pathways as addiction, and restrictive eating increases hunger hormone, which is ghrelin, and it decreases leptin, which is our satiety, how satisfied we feel. So restrictive eating really doesn't do us much good, and we know that deep down. And it's when we get ourselves into a panic and we start to think, we shouldn't be eating enough calories for the day because we're desperate to lose weight. But that's really not serving us, because we know that it's going to cause havoc on our hormones and our brain. But ultimately, your body's trying to protect you from what it sees as starvation or stress. Dr. Brené Brown's research shows that shame correlates with addiction and actually having depression and eating disorders, and it's not associated with positive change at all. So there's actually no need to have this emotion. What you really need is self-compassion and treating yourself as you would treat your loved ones. Self-compassion really is the way forward, and it allows you to break free here. And real progress starts when you actually talk to yourself like someone you really care about. So here's the huge mindset shift I really want you to take away from this video, because you are not a binge eater and you should not define yourself as a binge eater. You're just a human being who's used food to cope with emotions, restriction, and stress, and that is all it is. And binging has turned into a pattern, not a personality trait. Say, for example, you've just got home from work and one of the first things you do is grab a packet of biscuits, and before you know it, half a pack or more has been demolished. It's happened to most people, but before deeming yourself a binge eater and being very shameful around it, why not ask yourself, what is it you actually really needed in that moment? What were you kind of trying to cope with in that moment, and how else could you have coped with that emotion or stress or that feeling of restriction in that moment? Because what we really need to do is reflect and build awareness in ourselves to understand why we do these things mindlessly at the time. And studies actually show that naming your triggers actually reduces binge eating by up to 40% in just 8 weeks. So remember, you can't change a pattern that you keep shaming yourself for, but what you can do is build understanding and awareness around that pattern. So let's start replacing shame with self-compassion, and ask yourself, what does that self-compassion look like? It's not necessarily letting yourself off the hook and eating a load more stuff, because that's not going to help the whole cycle situation. What you need to do is just ask yourself again what it is that is triggering these patterns. What you need to do is just learn from this and give yourself permission to learn from this experience. So when you feel the urge to binge, just pause and ask yourself, okay, so what am I struggling with right now? What do I need in this very moment? Or what emotion am I trying to numb right now? And more often than not, something simple like journaling can really help, or even just having a conversation with a friend or a loved one just to talk things through and actually become more aware of this pattern that keeps showing up for you. And that pause is going to stop that autopilot mode that we tend to go on before we start a binge. And I promise you, the more you show yourself understanding instead of disgust, then the less powerful the binge becomes over time. And you can start making choices from a place of calm, not chaos. So to recap, here's what breaking the binge shame cycle really looks like. If you do binge, to stop yourself from spiraling, just breathe, stay calm, and just ask yourself, what is it I need in this moment? What has triggered this? Has it been an emotional thing, stress, or restriction? And then from there, move on, just have your next meal as normal, nourish your body, and just crack on. Don't overthink it and just move forwards. Because that one act of getting back to neutral is how you start to heal your relationship with food. And again, be gentle with yourself, guys. You can't hate yourself into healing. You know, this takes time and patience, just like being in the gym with every rep and set and getting more progressive over time. This will take time, but you will heal little by little. Stay aware, stay compassionate with yourself, and you know, just try to figure out and understand what's really going on those deeper levels. So I hope you enjoyed this video and you really took value from it. This is something I'm very passionate about, helping women with healing themselves with food, and also just getting strong in the gym or at home, and getting in amazing shape and feeling good ultimately, and having energy that is required for day to day, and just, yeah, feeling good, like I say. So if this hit home to you, then hit subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.